Dear participant, I am extremely happy to join you to discuss an important subject matter, public-private partnership in infrastructure and social sector. This workshop encompasses 7 modules. My name is Jamar Sagir. I'm Professor of Practice at the Institute for the Study of International Development at McGill University. I'm a former director at the World Bank, responsible of infrastructure. The first module will be an overview of public-private partnership. We will explain the concept. We'll give a full definition, what it is and what it is not. I will give the main characteristic of a PPP, but also explain what's the rationale behind PPP. Why are we doing public-private partnership? Is it because the public cannot do it alone? Is it for budgetary reason? Or is it for efficiency where we bring the private sector innovation and better way of doing business? Or simply because we'd like to see a partnership? In my opinion, the most important P among the 3 P is the second one. It's a partnership. Then we'll discuss what government needs to look for when they design a public-private partnership. And of course, we'll give you a lot of links and background information so you can go and look for more data or more lesson learned on PPP as you develop the concept. The second module will look at the important aspect of the PPP, which is the legal and regulatory framework behind doing a PPP. A PPP cannot just be done in isolation. It needs a solid legal and regulatory framework, the enabling environment on which this public-private partnership will operate, how will operate, what kind of legislation in case of problem, what kind of recourse is needed. And also you will need sometimes specific bylaws related to the legislation of PPP. Only few countries were able to do PPP without the legal framework. But what they have done in that case, they're doing what we call legislation, regulation by contract. In other words, the contract of the PPP will have all the necessary legal clauses in the contract to allow that this contract is executed in a fair, transparent, and efficient way. But in my opinion, the legal regulatory framework assessment, what could be done, how it could be done, what's available, what is allowed, what's not allowed, what kind of labor law applicable or not, is important, especially for your country as you develop this framework. The third model will give you, will explain the different PPP models. And there could be a whole debate in the spectrum of PPP. We talk about service contract. This is typical contract where basically there is no risk being taken by the private sector. You give a contract to a private operator, you pay them a fixed fees, and you tell them to operate your system. This is usually for 3 or 5 years. Then you can go to what we call a second layer, a performance-based management contract or operation leasing and management contract. These contracts are usually for 8 years, where the public sector provide the investment, the funding for the investment, and the private sector bring their knowledge, efficiency, and know-how and operate the system. For instance, in France, all the water sectors and all the municipalities are done on the basis of performance-based management contract. Again, these contracts are for around 8 years to 10 years, renewable. Then you go to another category, what we call the concession type contract, where the private sector will have to raise money, will have to put the investment from the money they raised, and they will take a contract for at least 20 to 25 years to operate the system, invest in the expansion, and ensure it is providing the service to the people in an efficient way. Then we go within this concession type contract in category what we call the BOT, build, operate, transfer, where the private sector, especially for greenfield project. In other words, I have an idea to produce a new power plant. I don't want, as a public sector, I don't have the means there. I will simply ask the private sector to give me an offer based on cost of kilowatt produced. Therefore, the private sector will build, operate, and after 25 years, at least, transfer. In other words, after they got good rate of return of 25%, they made some profit, they will return it to the public sector. There are some cases we don't return them. It's called build, operate, and own. You don't need to return them. And there are a lot of variety here. You have also the design, build, finance, operation. We'll discuss more when we discuss each of these model and model 3. Then we have to discuss, once we have an idea, how do you procure a PPP? What are the different steps? And here we see around 4 phases. First one, assessment of the justification of the PPP model. Why are we doing a PPP? I think this is an important question that the parliament will ask, the prime minister will ask, or the president will ask, and the people will ask. Why are you doing a PPP? What is justification? Is it because you don't have the knowledge? Is it because you don't have the means? Is it because you don't know what to do with the sector, therefore you need innovation? And I think it's important to answer that fundamental question. Then once you decide to go with a PPP, you need to decide how you're going to procure it. What kind of competitive bidding, what kind of guarantee schemes you have to associate it with it, what kind of funding you expect, what kind of private sector, international, local, regional. These are the questions that you have also in the bidding document or the pre-qualification document to talk about. Then you go to phase 3 in the building and public contract award. The bidding is an important aspect, and that's where a lot of expertise is needed. How do you compare different offers? So the bidding document has to be very clear so that people feel that they are treated fairly, that they have a clear way of being benchmarked. And then when you award the contract, the winner has to feel that he gets the best deal. The winners here are the government as well as the bidder, the best bidder. Then you go to implementation of the contract, and this could take 1, 2, 3 years. Then if you have to execute it also, it will take another 15 years. When you do the bidding, the question would be what kind of funding you can and what kind of blending of fund. And here where there are different models here. You can bring seed money from the public sector. You can decide to bring money also from the donor community. For instance, if we are talking about building a power plant, you can decide that the power plant will be funded by the private sector. However, all the transmission line linked to the power plant to make it effective could be funded by the public sector through grant or loans from the international community. What is very important, in my opinion, is really to go beyond the traditional funding from the national budget, because national budget cannot afford to finance all of this infrastructure need of the country. And therefore, blending public and private sector is an important aspect. In addition, we need to find a guarantee scheme to give enough comfort to the private sector that the money they are raising and they are investing in this country, in this project, will be protected. Because the sovereign guarantee more often is not sufficient. And therefore, you can go and ask for partial risk guarantee or guarantee from MIGA for the equity side. And these are, again, details we'll discuss in Module 5. Having done all that work, we believe we need to provide you some lesson learned and case study. There are good lesson learned of PPP. There are also bad lesson learned. The European Union has a lot of case studies. I know it's of interest to you. So we will give you a few case studies. We'll also discuss an interesting project in India, as well as a project in Manila. And of course, we'll have a lot of links that will give you additional information, case studies as you need. Finally, when we have done those 6 models, and it will take around 6 hours, during 2 days or 3 days, depending how you want to do it, we will also propose to you an exercise where you will design a PPP based on a project you will identify, and you will go through this process. That's our objective in this course, and I hope we'll have an exciting way of looking at PPP as an important element of your economic reform program. Thank you.